Hello and welcome. My name is Vex, and today we have something a little bit different. Today we're going to be talking about my experience in the beta so far for Godforge. No video to react to today, although there has been some interesting community videos that have come out that I do want to talk about, as well as main channel, Fateless channel videos that I do want to react to. But I want to talk about my experience in the game so far, my criticisms, the things that I like, the things that I don't like, the things that I hope to see in the next wave of beta, and then later on down the line whenever we get early access. Spoiler alert, I don't think this game is ready for release this year. That being said, strap in. We got a long list of things that I want to talk about. We're going to go through my account and the things that I want to talk about. So this video could get very long. So ready your 1.5 or your 2x buttons. Yeah, don't forget this is recorded live in front of a studio audience. If you want to be a part of that and see all the things that get cut, like me flubbing and saying the word welcome a million times, check out the link in the description, twitch.tv/vexinglive. I'll have links to how to get into the beta if you want to participate as well. The beta is still going on for another, I think as a recording, another 5 days or so before there's going to be a break, and then there's going to be another wave of beta at some point, I think in June, late June, so you can get involved with that. Anyway, let's get to it. So first I want to talk about my experience, my very first experience getting into the beta. I was of the camp that didn't want to use the legendary that I got from the Godforge Quest minigame because I wanted to experience what a first-time user would experience. My personal plan for content when the game is released is to sort of approach it from a player's perspective of not free to play, but low spender, not a crazy high-end account. So I wanted to experience what that would be like without a legendary at first. And the first-time user experience was super quick. I think there was maybe a little bit too much go here, click this button, make sure you click that button so you know exactly what weapons are, what imprints are, things like that. But I get it. It's because I know what that kind of game is. I kind of wish that there was a, hey, I've played gacha games and this style of game before, skip. I know where everything is. But that's beside the point. The first time user experience I think was 5 minutes. But in-game mail was given to me with my Wukong that I got from Godforge quests, and you were given at the end of a short quest line of doing stuff in the game, like battle in the campaign once, level up a hero once, a very short sort of introductory quest line. You were given a flawless stone. Flawless stones are the high rarity stones that would give you the highest chance of getting a rarity. They can only contain legendaries and epic champions, and it was a guaranteed legendary. So I essentially started the game with Wukong and Svarog, which I think is fine, but I skipped out on using my starter almost completely because I quickly got Isolde and Tristan as a combo, and I had Wukong and Svarog, so that's 4 people. Most campaigns are 4 people in a wave. So I had no use for my starter, and I think I've been seeing that across the board. Hey, I didn't really get a chance to use my starter, and I think that's just the nature of getting really high rarity characters right away, because you want to use the shiny really good stuff, right? You want to use the things with more abilities and higher damage or whatever. I think overall the game hooked me pretty easily, although I feel like I'm kind of on the outskirts of the target audience for this type of game. I'm not going to be spending a boatload of money on this game. Regardless, I don't do that for any of the gacha games. I tend to go for specific characters and attach myself to characters. And if I'm already guaranteed Wukong, yeah, maybe I'll spend when a good weapon for him is coming by or whatnot. But I already play a lot of these games, so it's not that difficult for me to be interested in this stuff. Plus, I like various mythologies, and I'm obviously very interested in the Fateless team and like seeing what their progress is like. So of course I'm going to be playing the beta every day. But I think the beta, this version of the beta's gameplay loop is lacking. There's only 2 areas open. There's the campaign that has 3 difficulties, and all of the factions have their own campaign with 10 stages each. So there's a lot of campaign to do. There's a lot to progress through because you progress through it 3 different times. And there's dungeons, and there's a bunch of different dungeons, but they're all pretty much the same. It's 2 waves and then a boss. And yeah, it's fun to like, look at what the boss's abilities do, but if you're someone like me who doesn't have very much time, you just sort of like farm whatever's quick, and then you level up your characters, and you just bash through waves and bosses by brute force. Like, I couldn't tell you what Freya's boss abilities are, but I farmed this a bunch to level up my characters because I just brute force it. And maybe that's on me for not being more invested in the game, but I think that's maybe just the game not being engaging enough, because the bosses are easily steamrolled. I don't know if that's necessarily something you want to change, but I think at least right now there's a lack of just things to do. I can farm campaign, I can farm dungeons, or that's it. It's just farming. Like, I've got this on my second monitor while I'm doing other stuff, and there's battles going and going and going, and then I level up some heroes, and then I can progress more in the dungeons, and then I farm. There's just nothing to do. And the next beta, I think, is going to have the arena and tower open. I don't know if campaign and dungeons are going to be open, but I know arena and tower are going to be. So that's going to be different things to progress through, but I don't think it's going to be a crazy amount of things to do. Like, if the game launched tomorrow with campaign, dungeon, arena, and tower, like, tower might be sort of like end game after you're done farming or progressing through campaign. There's just nothing there. There's just no unique gameplay mode. Like, if I think about Raid and how it was maybe 2-3 years ago, it was kind of in a similar spot, and then they introduced the Cursed City, and then they introduced Grim Forest. There's other things to do in the game to utilize your characters in a more interesting way, other than wave-based combat. So I think that we definitely need something like that. And I think like Pantheon boss and world bosses and things like that will help that out, as well as like in-game events where I need to focus on certain areas. I think will help ease that. So I think the thing that stood out to me the most, to talk about something positive before we sort of get into the meat of everything, I think the character progression and overall general, like, you get to a point where auto farming doesn't work, or auto battling doesn't work. You take over, you push that, and then even that's not good enough. Like, you got to learn your characters, and that can push you a little bit further than just brute forcing things with auto. And then you got to really think, like, okay, I've got limited resources. Like, yeah, we're in beta, so our resources are inflated. But we got to think about it like, when the game's releasing, we're not going to have nearly as much energy or experience or anything like that. So you really got to focus on what characters are going to be the most beneficial to my team in the long run. And I kind of like that, because I like looking at and judging the different characters, specifically in different rarities, because you also have to weigh, okay, is this rare with a bunch of awakening copies going to be better than this epic that doesn't have any awakening copies, because it's going to be a lot harder to get? And looking at stats, and I think there's like a crunchy goodness to that. And that's, I think, what I enjoy most about the beta so far. As much as I want to brute force and just turn my brain off and do whatever, I do kind of like gearing out a character and, thinking about what gear sets are going to be good versus what, if I want to break sets, or what weapons. Like, there's a ton of weapons, and some weapons give crit, so you have to, factor that into whatever you're doing. Or, oh, do I want to use a weapon that has like really good stats, or do I want to use one that I can, utilize the actual ability of? I think there's just like a pretty decent depth in character builds that is present in most games like this. So it's not a exclusive to Godforge thing. But I think this game does it well, so I think it is a positive. I do, however, want to talk about the change from initiative to faith and the discussion of speed versus faith, because that came up in this week's podcast. They were talking about like, is the existence of faith rivaling the existence of speed? And this ties into ultimates, and we're going to get into that later in the video. I actually have a game queued up, so there should be timestamps down below if you want to skip ahead to that. We're going to talk about feed. We're going to talk about speed versus faith and the ultimate and divinity system as a whole package later on. But as a whole, I think gearing and leveling up characters, well, not specifically leveling up characters, because this is a slog to do. Like if I want to get Guan Yu, yes, I did. If I want to get Guan Yu to 5-star, I have to individually level up 4 characters to 4-star, which takes approximately 7 years to do one. Even with autofill, I have to make sure it's the right characters. I have to do that 4 times. Like, there's no easy way to batch do it, and the devs know. The devs have said multiple times that they're working on it. For a UI UX quality experience type thing in the future. So that we know is coming. So gearing characters, I think, is probably my favorite thing to do. Just like and seeing like, okay, now my character is like truly geared out, and he's hitting for 27,000 damage with one hit, and it's like, holy God, okay, that's sick. So next I want to talk about my account as a whole. I think that I've been pretty unlucky with my pulls. I've got only a few legendaries, and I can kind of feel it. And like if I'm looking at other people's accounts on the leaderboards, I can see that they're pushing further because they just have more legendaries and more built characters. And like I've not been spending all day every day on this, so like I could definitely be pushed a little bit further. But overall, I think I'm pretty happy with the characters that I've gotten. Like I said, I got Wukong from Godforge Quests, which he's like my favorite character from all of mythology, so I think they did him pretty well. I really like his ultimate. He gets to attack 8 times at random. If you can set that up where you're against a boss and you kill like the minions first, it's just 8 smacks against the boss, which is really cool. Or it can sometimes take out a wave, which is really nice. I also have set up that with this weapon, when he joins an attack, increase turn meter and divinity, and his basic ability, it does increase damage. So we've got that in mind. His passive says that he has a 50% chance to join an ally's attack. So I've sort of built my team around him being able to join in an attack. And sometimes I can just like bonk, 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 and a wave's gone. And that's super good. Like it's to me, it's like very fun. I really like when characters join attacks, which is why I also have Kitsune built. Each time this character uses her ultimate, 2 random allies join in this hero's attack. I thought I was going to be totally wrong. We're fine. So when you use the ultimate, it attacks everybody. It does a bunch of stuff. But 2 random allies also join the attack. But because she attacked, it could be that when you have 4 people on a team, she attacks, 2 people attack, and Wukong attacks. So you have a big chance of all of your team attacking at the same time, which is super, super fun. Svarog's on my team is like basically my support, but he does a decent chunk of damage. He gives like resistances and shields and stuff. I think there's an argument for a 4 DPS team. There's an argument for like an all support team. It just depends on what you're doing. But Nezha has been my second favorite behind Wukong. I've not really experienced his his passive. At the start of his hero's turn, sacrifice HP and increase damage. I've not really experienced that. I don't know if it's bugged or not. But Aether Burn is pretty good. You're doing some divinity stuff. And with enough accuracy, he's like landing it all the time. He attacks 3 times there. He does a big like attack up stuff. Phoenix is really good in case you like get like nuked by a boss or something. He comes back up and is attacking. Don't really get to his ultimate that much because teams are normally dead by the time I get to it. But I think he's just overall super strong, and like I feel like his multipliers could be a little bit higher. I don't know. I really like Nezha as a like a mythological character, and most games that he's featured in, I use heavily. Like I'm thinking about like Dislight. They also had a Nezha. He's just super fun, and he's super fun to play with Wukong. I don't know. There's just some like there's some Tian fantasy there, I think. So plus like joining in with attacks. I think his melee, his like M1 is just like really satisfying. Easy to kill like early waves. So my team is pretty much those 4. If I have a 5th, I have Isis in. I just pulled Isis the other day, and she's my reviver. They only just fixed revivers. Up until a couple days ago, most revivers in the game didn't actually revive people, which sucked. So I'm starting to see that like my teams can actually go a little bit extra because they get revived if they get killed. Like Wukong's like a glass cannon, so he dies pretty easy. So getting him back up is really nice. I don't have Horus for the synergy here, but overall I'm pretty happy with the pulls that I've gotten so far. I've gotten multiples of epics that I don't really care about, and I really want just multiples of Nezha and Kitsune. So hopefully soon before the beta's over, but we'll see. So next I want to talk about weapons a little bit. My weapons are pretty lacking. I've summoned, because the way you get weapons is summoning, essentially. I can't tell you how many thousand weapons. And I've only gotten the 1 legendary from the Godforge quest minigame. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I'm just missing something, but like I don't know where you get legendary weapons from. Maybe it's from the very highest difficulty of campaign, and I just don't know. Maybe it's from like the very end of the Hag's Hollow dungeon, because this one's all about weapons and stuff. I don't know what Hag's Bone, but I feel like there's just not enough information about. There's not even like rates for weapons for when you're pulling. It doesn't tell you, you know, if you do a 10 pull, how many are gonna, what your chances of getting an epic is versus a rare. There's just no information, which is incredibly unfortunate because I want more copies. I can't level up this weapon on Wukong anymore unless I get more copies of it. But I can't get more copies of it. Okay, we've talked about a lot of good stuff. Now I want to talk about some of the things that I would like to see improved and the criticisms that I have for the game. One sort of small thing, but also big thing, I want to express to whoever may be watching this, whether you're a player or a dev, from this beta, I think I lack confidence that this game is going to be released this year. I know that this is a build of the game that is over a month old, but I think that this is in such a buggy state. Like just earlier today, after an update, I was doing campaign battles, and during the battle, my entire home screen, Sanctum screen, was on my battle. So I could click in menus while I was battling. There's so much... let's just get into a battle so we can check out this stuff. I'll just pick a random stage. Like, the cameras need improvement. The animations need improvement. Nessa's HP did get... His passive did go off. Sometimes the HP bars look like they kill the character, but they actually don't, and the character just stands back up, which has been super frustrating. Sound effects. Oh, yeah, I didn't even talk about that. Yeah, when you start the game, I guess with the alpha, I had the volume all the way down, and I started the beta with no volume on because it didn't give me a volume slider. And ever since, I don't have in-game music. I don't have sound effects. Nothing. So that's why we play with like other music on. Trying to see if I can get the like weird HP bar glitch. The point I'm trying to make is there's so many bugs, like Reviver's not working. There's so many little things that I this is not, to me, this is not a beta. Like how the characters stand next to each other, how their art styles differ. That's for a different video. But I think overall the like count of bugs in this game is like crazy. Like a crazy high amount. And I know it's like, you know, a relatively small dev team, but they do have a crazy number of people. They have like over 60 employees or something like that. Not all of them are working on, you know, bugs and dev like that, but this to me, I've been sort of in my mind thinking of it like an alpha. And that's sort of like you know, made it seem a little bit more realistic to me. Like there's so many UI things that just don't work. Like why can't I see how many of a particular type of stone I have next to it? There's so many like, oh, I'll just be I can't use the escape button to go back. I'll be here and then I hit 1X and it'll bring me back here. And then I go back in and now it brings me back to this screen. Like what happened? Like there's so many bugs. It's crazy. And now this won't go away. What the heck? Now my HUD's back. My Sanctum HUD. What is happening? I'm literally breaking the game live. Like this, it's kind of insane. Like I think they just wanted to get the game in front of people, but it's kind of insane that the game was allowed to like all like Simon going up to this was talking about how like there's different def cons that they have of like tiers of bugs that they're allowing through, and there's like gear sets that if you use this gear set, your game has a higher chance of crashing during a battle. Like that's not okay. Like we need to kill switch those. We need to not allow those. So I guess that's more of a major thing. I thought it would be more of a minor thing, but there's just so many bugs that it's sometimes a little bit it's a little bit frustrating. But if I think of it like, oh hey, this is just an alpha of the game's not going to release this year, so it'll be fine. It's like, okay, cool, like we're fine. Similarly, sort of, I want to talk about the story, and oh, here we go, we've got our HUD back. I think that these parallax stories and cutscenes are fantastic. I love the art style. I think it's very unique. I think it's very, like, Simon had said in one of the earlier podcasts or something like that, that they had watched a lot of Blizzard do these. Like, Blizzard did a bunch of these for World of Warcraft back in, like, Warlords of Draenor, Legion, and things like that. They did some for Diablo 3, I think. And I think that they captured that style and made it their own. And I think these are fantastic. Oh, okay. That was weird. These things I think are less than stellar, but they're at least interesting. I think the story itself is very much lacking. If I could, so I'm lazy and I had meant to do this, but I wanna compare all of the different faction campaigns and see how many of the lines are the same, just with a different character placed in. It's essentially character A introduces character B. Character B is like, hello, I'm such and such, god of such and such. And then character A is like, the Scion is here. They're powerful. Let's go stop them. And it's like that level of story, that depth of story across the entire campaign. It's not really until we start getting to like, we need to go hunt the artifact that will find Gilgamesh and fight Gilgamesh and get him on our side. Like, it's not until like the last two factions where like a story like actually takes place. As a DM who created an entire world that is still evolving, that is evolving in two different time eras, in D&D and in like a cyberpunk future, it's very difficult to make a story. It's very difficult to make a world that's cohesive and that people enjoy playing and want to come back to. I totally understand it. It's even more difficult to portray a story in 2 sentences, you know? Each campaign stage, you've only got a limited amount of time. But to me, it feels like cookie cutter fucking chat GPT, this character meets this character, go. Like, it doesn't feel like a story was created and then was chopped down to fit the campaign needs. It feels like we have these characters and we want to introduce them all. And we can go through that in everything. Like, let's just pick a random one. Oh, of course that one doesn't have a story. Bro, I'm about to lose my mind. What is happening? We failed Olympus, daughter of Zeus. Don't be so dramatic. So it's just like these, like, nothing burger stories. Like, nothing, literally nothing is happening. And it's just call out after call out after call out. And it's like, yeah, we know that there's a stellar cast of, like, the game is just stellar cast people. It's gods, myths, and legends. Like, you don't have Joe Schmo being like, oh shit, there goes Zeus. Like, we know there's all these crazy people, but they still don't feel like it's all one cohesive world. I don't know how to improve it. I'm not claiming to know how to improve. As a consumer, I'm not involved in the story at all. And that to me sucks because I want to be. Because I didn't like Raid Story. Raid Story is not even a second thought. It's like a fourth thought. They basically don't have a story. And with so much focus on story and so much talk about story leading up to this, I thought that there was going to be a little bit deeper, a little bit more going on. And it could be that right now, it's still beta. Things are still getting ironed out, whatever. There's going to be more story in the future. Cool. Maybe in a year, when there's more story built up, it'll look a little bit better. But we're not there yet, and the story needs to grab people as they are now, you know? So the story for me, and the world building specifically, not my favorite. Not in the slightest. I think the world building really needs some help. And the worlds need to feel a little bit more connected. The realms, the idea of like the Scion is you as the player controlling all these characters, like, needs to be ironed out. These fucking bugs need to be ironed out. Oh my god, I'm losing my mind. Okay, so I had to relaunch the game to get rid of all the bugs because they were actually freaking me out. Next, I want to talk about the speed versus faith debate or comparison. I think that the idea of speed being king in these types of games is ever present. No matter what game you play, and a lot of the devs and a lot of the community like to liken this game to Ethereum Restart. I think because, like, during the development of this game, Hell Hades was covering Ethereum Restart, like the website was covering Ethereum Restart. The game, we played the game a couple times. It was, it was a flash in the pan gacha game, and speed was king there. Speed's king in Raid. Speed's king in most things that are turn-based, because if you have more speed, you take more turns. Simple as that. So Godforge is doing something to try to combat that, to make things a little bit more interesting. And they have the faith stat. That increases your divinity, which makes you have more ultimates, which, you know, sometimes ultimates are really, really good, and you want more ultimates. But then there's the choice of, like, do I want my character to go faster and take more turns and therefore get to their ultimate quicker? Or do I want each turn to give more divinity and have more ultimates that way? And I think I came to the conclusion that it is really character dependent, and if they're support versus damage dealing. You really have to have a team that is at the very least one person or one character or two units that are speed focused, so that you can still take turns. Because, and I've been saying this since the ultimate system was originally talked about, because ultimates can only be used when one of your characters has a turn, you have to have somebody that has high speed. Otherwise, in Arena, if none of your characters can take a turn because your opponents are too fast, you will die every time with all of your ultimates. Since beta has started and we've had a chance to experience the new faith and divinity system, I think the system itself is fun. I think ultimates happen more frequently than they did in the alpha, which is fun. And faith is sort of like, you know, if I've got a boot that has faith and I don't have any boots that have speed, I'm going to put the one that has faith on, because faith is still really good to have. But speed is ultimately the better choice, and the ultimate system, in my opinion, is fundamentally flawed. To express this, I have loaded up a battle in Honkai Star Rail, so stick with me. It's a turn-based game, very similar to Godforge. We're going to try to see if I can sort of express what I'm talking, or show you what I'm trying to express with the ultimate system and what I want the ultimate system in Godforge to be able to do. Okay, so here we are in game. The turn meter is on the left. You don't have to know anything about the characters. You don't have to know anything about the battle system other than characters gain ultimates via energy, which is essentially faith. They have speed. They have a turn order. Enemies have a turn. It's essentially the same as Godforge, except if I press a button that gives me an like if I have an ultimate ready and I press that button, that character will queue up their ultimate to happen next in the turn order, regardless of their position in the turn order. So, for instance, and I'm going to try to set this up, if it's an enemy's turn, like this enemy that's highlighted or whatever, and this enemy to the left is going after that person, if I can time it right and I get an ultimate and use it during the one enemy's turn, my ultimate will happen before the next one's turn. It's not interrupting turns. It's not stopping a turn. It is simply using my ultimate out of turn order, which is, I think, the downfall of the current Godforge ultimate system and the thing that's holding it back the most. And something that I don't think will fundamentally break the game. I think it'll make it insanely more fun. So we're going to play through this as simply as possible. My Sparkle will get her ultimate pretty quick. Just trying to make sure enemies stay alive. Okay, my character, you can't really see it because it's behind my head. My character has her ultimate, but it's still my turn. So I'm going to wait until it's like the enemy's turns. Don't kill everybody. Okay, after him, it's an enemy. I'm going to spam my ultimate. You can see that she queued up. And now I shoved myself in between two enemy turns. But you can see this is the ultimate up here on the top left up here. That's a turn order. At the very top, this is the ultimate turn. This is her actual turn. Nowhere near. And then I can press Jingyuan's ultimate, and it'll shove him next, even though he's way down here. I can interrupt what the enemy's doing and what the enemy's planning with my own ultimate. I don't have to worry about speed. My characters could be fast, or I can build them with high faith and get my ultimates and be able to use my ultimates. Otherwise, my characters would just die and, it'd be over. You could also chat with us about these discussions if you come over to twitch.tv/vexinglive whenever we're live. We're live 4 or 5 nights a week. Come check the Discord, and I let everybody know. It's like 9 p.m. every day, essentially. Anyway, Chatter Non asked about PvP. That's a valid thing. Honkai Star Rail doesn't have PvP. This game will have PvP. We're going to test that in the next beta. And I thought about this, and I personally don't believe that it changes anything. There's going to be the PvP system in this is going to be very much like the passive. You set up a defense, and somebody will click your name, and they'll fight your defense. Your defense will not be determined by you. You won't play your defense. The AI will play for it, right? It'll essentially auto battle itself. But auto battles already happen with ultimates. I don't think it would be that much more challenging in PvP to have the AI care about using ultimates in PvP, because a lot of people will do arena in raid just auto, right? Not many people do the normal version of arena manual. Some people do, and sometimes it's better to do that. But most people just click it and then they let it go and then they get their win and they're out. You can do that in this game too already. Because they all, like Svarog just uses ult. This is on auto. Nessa's using his ult. They kind of prioritize them. So it could even be a thing where okay, maybe it's bad that the AI thinks every time a ultimate's ready, we use it right away. But in PvP, maybe that's a good thing. Or maybe that forces people to not want to auto in PvP. And then, therefore, they spend more time in arena and less time in a different game. Something like that. So, as far as I know, at the very least in the beta, there's not going to be something like live arena where it's like you draft champions and you play another person live. I think when things are live person versus person, the ultimate queuing system will be more difficult to handle. That's something that the devs would have to think about, because then it has to do with servers and ping and things like that. But I think ultimately the ultimate system as it is now, where you can use any of your ultimates as long as it's one of your character's turn, is fine. It's passing. It's a C+. I think Honkai Star Rail's version of ultimates, where you can use your ultimate to interject yourself into another person's turn, use your turn out of order, get in between two enemy turns. You can see that they're building their divinity and they're going to have it soon, but that if you do this, you'll get your ultimate first, and you can spam it and kill them before they get their ultimate. It leads to so many more fun moments. And this has happened countless times in Honkai Star Rail. And it's essentially the same, except I can only use my ultimates on my turn here. And already in the beta, there have been times where I've been if I could use any of my ultimates right now, I would win this battle, but the boss is just about to kill me. And my turn's over. And I just got my ultimate. But my turn's over, so I can't use my ultimate, and I die. So now I have to do the battle again, and that's a big feel bad. I think it's just a no-brainer, and it just leads to more fun. It leads to divinity actually being a real stat that is competitive with speed, because you don't really have to worry about the difference between them, because both will be equally strong, when right now speed is just very clearly still king. I think that's my biggest. It's been since Godforge announced their ultimate system. Like I said, it has been my biggest pet peeve, my biggest criticism, my biggest want in the game. The ultimates need to be more fun, and that's how you achieve it. Because the abilities are already cool, getting them's already fun, using them's fun, but I need to actually be able to use my ultimates. I need to be able to use them when I want. And yeah, I hopefully my starter rail. I know sometimes when I talk about this, people in the comments are like, they get a little bit misconstrued. I don't mean to like interrupt someone's turn, like they're already attacking and that stops their attack. That's not what I mean. I mean, you just sort of jump the turn order just for your ultimate, not your actual turn. I hope that makes sense. And yeah, I think that's my biggest piece of feedback. I think it would. Oh man, I think it would catapult this game's fun factor. All right, I know this video has gone on long enough. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully I could shed some insight on the beta. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments about my take on the Ultimate system and the Divinity system, as well as what you're enjoying. Maybe what character you're looking forward to pulling. Like I said, I'm looking for more copies of characters I already have. That's all I want. Links in the description for access to the beta, signing up for the beta, as well as all of my socials, including the Twitch stream where we record this live, so you can talk to us and get sort of a live reaction in a video or whatever. I hope you enjoyed. Please remember to like and subscribe. And until next time, bye. Maybe I should cut put the cut burp at the end as an outtake. And burps. I don't know if that cut's gonna be good. That's gonna be a bad cut.